This woman was condemned as a witch. She was dragged 3 times to execution, but she refused to die. She was hanged, but she still breathed. She was burned, but she still stirred. And when they finally beheaded her, her eyes still blinked. Her name was Reiss, and for centuries, her body defied decay. People said she was cursed, blessed, or something more terrifying. The legend goes that when her grave was opened 100 years later, she lay untouched. Her lips were still red, and her chest was whispering with breath. Historians have tried to debunk this story, but some believe that Anna's spirit is trapped in a loop, condemned to wander the earth for eternity. What do you think? Is there a curse on this woman's grave? Or is there something more sinister at play here? Let me know your thoughts. There are some tales so unnerving, so profoundly disturbing that once upon hearing them, you'll wish you could scrub them from your mind. This is one such story. In the heart of northern Germany lies a small monastery. It stands silent, its ancient walls holding secrets from centuries past. Among its dusty records lie tales best left untold. Stories of a time when faith and fanaticism went hand in hand. Stories like that of Reiss, a name once proudly written, then cruelly crossed out in the baptismal register, yet it reappears, sending chills down the spine 3 times in the execution files. Now, you might wonder why. What was so terrible about the way she died? You see, it wasn't the death itself, but the manner of her refusal to accept it that sent a shiver down people's spines. Imagine, if you can, the year 1681. Europe is gripped by an age-old panic. A frenzy where suspicion and fear of witchcraft, heresy, or rebellion against the church were enough to seal one's fate. The smallest whisper could condemn you. The darkest nightmare become your worst reality. In this chilling atmosphere, Anna found herself accused of being a witch. The villagers believed she was responsible for the mysterious deaths of 2 children. However, there was no solid proof, only rumors. Nightmares and coincidences that the villagers dubbed the devil's proof. Despite the lack of evidence, Anna was dragged to court. The trial was swift. The verdict, brutal, death. The sentence was carried out the same day. The method, hanging. The next morning, a thick fog hung over the village as people gathered at the gallows. The executioner, a grim figure in the mist, adjusted the rope. The crowd watched, their faces pale and drawn in the gloom. When he pulled the lever, Anna's body dropped. The rope tightened around her slender neck. For a moment, there was silence. Then the crowd let out a breath they hadn't realized they'd been holding. As they drew closer, a collective gasp escaped their lips. Her eyes were still open, staring vacantly into the swirling mists. The hangman fumbled, horrified. He pulled on the rope, tightening his grip, but each time he did, Anna fell silent, only to begin breathing again. After 2 long hours, the judge, his face ashen and hands trembling, declared the hanging a failure. People whispered in fear that this proved Anna's pact with the devil. They decided her only hope was fire. They tied her to a stake and built a pyre around her. Its flames licked at her. Many believed this would be the end. But when the fire died down, Anna's body, though scorched and smoking, remained frighteningly whole. She slumped forward, her eyes wide and staring. From her parched lips came a faint but undeniable breath. The executioner fled in terror, while villagers screamed that she was immortal. Fright and disbelief filled their hearts as they realized that the woman before them could not be killed. Faced with this impossible situation, the court ordered a 3rd and final execution, beheading. The village square was packed tight with people. The executioner, an older man with a steady hand, raised the axe. The sharp intake of breath, he brought it down. The crowd shut their eyes momentarily as blood erupted into the air, spraying like a macabre fountain. When they dared to look again, Anna's head lay on the ground, her lifeless eyes staring at the indifferent sky. Those who carried her away claimed her head still blinked. Thus began the chilling legend of the woman who had to be executed 3 times before death would claim her. Even after her death, her story didn't end. 100 years later, when the old cemetery was emptied, her grave was opened. The gravediggers, young men with calloused hands and strong backs, suddenly found themselves frozen with terror. Inside the coffin lay not a skeleton, but Anna's body, as intact as the day she was buried. her lips still a shocking shade of red. Some said when the wind swept across the graveyard, they could hear her whispering breath, faint but undeniably alive. This horrifying tale has echoed through the ages, leaving us to ponder the boundaries between life and death. Was it a miracle, a hoax, or something more sinister? You decide. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share for more chilling tales. Until next time. Imagine waking up in your bed in the middle of the night and hearing the distinct sound of footsteps pacing back and forth outside your window. You look out and see nothing but the darkness of the night. What would you do? Perhaps bury your head under the blankets until morning? Well, for monks at the German monastery of Median in 1774. This happened regularly, and they had no choice but to investigate. What they found was both ghastly and perplexing. And when the tale got out, people from all over Europe came to witness it for themselves. When Anna Reiss's coffin was opened, horror spread far beyond the cemetery. News raced like wildfire. The priests recorded the event in their ledgers, only to lock the pages away in the monastery library. In shaky Latin letters, one line remains: Non putrescit. She does not decay. From that night onward, villagers swore a heavy mist clung to the graveyard. The lanterns of the watchmen sputtered out, and a voice like that of a woman drifted through the fog. I am not finished here. So began the legend of Anna Altz, a young peasant woman who died in childbirth in 1774 and was buried in the monastery cemetery. Some claim they saw a pale woman in a white prisoner's gown walking the tree line, eyes glinting like a cat's. Children whispered of a mother who sang them to sleep in strange lullabies. But those children fell sick, coughing for weeks, sometimes uttering words in unknown tongues. A secret report, found in the archives of mines in 1792, tells of a young friar who examined the body. The flesh was whole, skin, hair, muscles intact. When touched, it was cold, yet soft, as though merely asleep. That night I dreamed she stood by my bed, her eyes hollow. At dawn, my neck bore a red mark like a rope burn. Scholars called her die unsterblich, the immortal. Some tried to explain it scientifically. Mineral-rich soil, sealed coffins, cold climate. Yet even skeptics admitted the unthinkable. Anna's hair kept growing. Her nails lengthened. Signs of life where there should be none. Witnesses added fuel. In 1803, Jakob Fischer wrote in his diary that each time he passed her grave, he heard faint knocking beneath the ground. The third time he pressed his ear to the earth, 3 steady knocks answered him. A week later, his livestock dropped dead, one by one, cause unknown. Rumors spread beyond the village into universities and secret societies. To some, Anna was proof of witchcraft. To others, she was the first to cross death's threshold and linger. Whispers told of grave robbers who vanished after attempting to steal from her coffin. Only abandoned shovels and half-dug pits remained. In 1836, French scholars supposedly pried open the tomb and took a lock of her hair and cloth from her gown. Within 2 years, all were dead from fevers that defied diagnosis. In one diary, a line scrawled in terror: "We carried what should never be carried. She is watching still." The church sealed the tomb in iron, encircled with crosses, bound in Latin curses. But villagers whispered that on misty nights, if one dared stand close, the sound of her rasping breath still rose from the earth. While these legends may have been sensationalized for the purpose of scaring travelers into staying away, or perhaps the bodies really did glow, regardless, there's something about stories like this that really gets me going. Maybe it's the mystery surrounding death, maybe it's the allure of the unknown. Either way, if you're looking for a good scare, then look no further than these legendary tales. If you enjoyed this chilling account, make sure to give us a thumbs up for more scary stories. And why not share it with your friends for a spooky season? We appreciate your support and can't wait to bring you more creepy content. Till then, happy haunting. When I heard about this story, I knew I had to share it with you guys, because Holy Mother of God, this is terrifying. This is the tale of a girl who died 300 years ago, yet somehow continues to live today. In the village of Tresnica, Bulgaria, there was once a young woman named Anna Reiss. She had everything going for her: looks, brains, beauty, charm. To this day, no one knows what happened to make her the way she did. One minute she was a normal girl, The next, she was stricken with some kind of black magic. Overnight, she went from being a charming girl to a violent, feral beast. The church saw this change as nothing less than possession. They proclaimed Anna a heretic, a demon spawn, and demanded she be locked up, never to be seen again. The villagers, terrified of both her and whatever dark force had come over her, agreed. And so her family, with heavy hearts, had her buried alive. But here's where things get weird. Her corpse did not decay. In fact, when they dug her up 2 weeks later to move her to a different tomb, they found that she was completely fine, except now her eyes were wide open and staring directly into your soul. The church was horrified. They could not tolerate what Anna had become. For them, her undying corpse was not only proof of evil, but a threat to faith itself. So in 1847, priests were dispatched from Rome with a single mission: end her presence. No public records remain, but scraps of parchment tell of what was attempted. A friar's note reads, "We do not face death, but a form of existence between life and void. Only the fire of faith may end it." That night, they held an exorcism at the tomb. Villagers heard Latin chants echoing in the woods, mingled with the screams of a woman. When the crucifix, heated red-hot, was pressed to her brow, thick black blood oozed out. Blood after 150 years flowing, as if from the living. The priests recoiled in horror, but pressed on, salting her body, scattering ashes, and finally sealing the coffin in triple iron. Scribed with a curse, "Whoever breaks this seal shall awaken what never died." But retribution came swiftly. Within a month, 3 priests were dead, another driven insane, crying of eyes wide open in the dark. Vatican silenced the name Anna Reiss forever. Yet secrecy only inflamed curiosity. By the late 19th century, occultists and proto-scientists sought her out, believing she held the key to immortality. 1891, a group from Prague bribed guards, pried away a fragment of her hand. That same night, lightning struck their house, leaving their corpses charred. The relic vanished. Locals began to whisper that Anna was not dead, but trapped. Some called it God's punishment. Others whispered that it was the church itself, through botched rites, that had forged an eternal curse. Then in 1902, a boy disappeared. Found 3 days later before Anna's tomb, alive but unconscious, he awoke to utter a single phrase: "She called me." From then, authorities forbade anyone from approaching the grave after sundown. Stranger still, in 1928, historian Heinrich Lutz studied the records. He wrote, "The blood stain on one page was still damp. Tonight I dreamed of a headless woman seated beside my desk." A year later, he vanished on the road home. His notes never recovered. Villagers handed down one warning to their children: never speak her name after midnight. For it was believed that to utter it was to summon her, and she would be standing just behind you. Thus the corpse remained sealed in iron, cursed, hidden, till war cracked the world open again. So what happens next? Well, that's the thing. That's where the story ends. But I have my own theories. What do you think happened to Anna after that? Let me know in the comments below. World War II tore through Germany, and no one was spared. Entire villages were leveled, and mass graves were the only answer. One such village was Anna Reiss, a small town which in 1943 lost its 26-year-old resident. The village square, an open field. The old church, now just a pile of bricks. The graveyard, nothing but rubble. In the early hours of May 1943, Allied bombers descended upon the unsuspecting town. Within minutes, everything was destroyed. When the smoke cleared, the first responders combed through the rubble. Amidst the wreckage, a squad came across something unbelievable: a woman's body encased in an iron-bound tomb. As they moved the debris, more and more of the coffin was revealed. Perfectly preserved under all those years, the German military report read. It described what they saw next. The woman was sitting upright, almost as if alive, except there was no head. The skin on her face was unusually pale, lips slightly curled as if in a faint smile. The picture that followed was inconclusive, though disturbing. Some say it captured her evil grin, others just a lifeless doll. But there was something about those eyes that seemed unsettling, unwavering, staring straight ahead. That evening a photographer was summoned, but if he took a picture, it was never found. What we do know is that night the soldiers stationed nearby heard knocking from the freshly dug grave. 3 steady raps. Anyone who listened closely could have sworn it was the sound of fingernails digging into wood. Before sunrise, 2 of those men were gone. Their rifles were left behind, straps torn as if ripped away by unseen hands. Soon, rumors began to spread through the camp. The men had tried to steal the woman's head, perhaps for a magic ritual, or maybe they just wanted to see if the rumors were true. Either way, they paid the price. Some said the bodies were never recovered, others that they were found lifeless, drained of blood. When the war ended, the villagers returned to find their homes were gone. Rubble was cleared away, and life slowly returned to Reiss. Yet no one dared disturb the ground where the church once stood. In 1960, they built a stone wall, sealing the cursed ground off from the rest of the world. No door, no path, just a grim reminder. 4 boys dared to climb over the wall one summer night in the 1960s with cameras in hand. 3 of them came back. The 4th was found at dawn lying on the church floor, lifeless, a strange rope-like bruise around his neck. The police ruled it as self-inflicted strangulation, but his friends insisted otherwise. They saw him dragged into the dark, they cried. For decades, scholars either dismissed Anna as folklore or hinted at truths buried deep. But one priest, horrified by what he found, wrote a chilling note in 1978. "We were sent to recover her remains." He confessed, "There are no remains to find. But she is still here." Sightings began almost immediately. Some saw her in the tattered rags of her prison gown, others in a black antique dress. But no matter what she wore, those eyes remained the same, wide, unblinking, drilling into your soul until you went mad. One man even claimed to have captured her on film. The negatives, when developed, were black, dead, except for 3 bright scratches like claw marks. Today, the village is nearly deserted. The stone wall still stands, draped in moss and covered with graffiti. No grave markers, no flowers, no reminders that beneath the earth lies a woman who may be watching, waiting. For when darkness falls, 3 knocks echo from the earth. Though no coffin lies beneath, she is still here. For centuries, people tried to kill her. They hanged her, burned her, beheaded her, but she did not die. Her body resisted decay even after 100 years. Then in the chaos of war, her body vanished. But everyone believes she is still here, watching, waiting. Perhaps only a legend, perhaps a fear born of death itself. But perhaps the truth.